Today, I have a special episode that delves into an important topic, the power of focusing more on others than on ourselves. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage and find a cozy spot, and let's dive right in as I talk about what God's been doing in transforming my life repurposed. On Life Repurposed, you'll find a blend of practical wisdom and biblical inspiration that's designed to help you navigate everyday life with faith, purpose, and hope. We focus on personal and spiritual growth with a range of topics from improving your relationships and discovering your purpose to setting and achieving goals, plus tools and resources to help you live your repurposed life. I'm your host, Michelle Rayburn, the author of books and Bible studies about finding hope in the trashy stuff of life. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in our own lives and forget about the needs of those around us. However, as Christians, we're called to live a different way, a life of love, compassion, and selflessness. And today we're going to explore how we can practically embody this principle in our day-to-day lives. I've chosen this one today because it's something I'm wrestling with in my own life. And I told you that in this series, I'm going to be talking about how God's repurposing me. And so this is what God is challenging me with today. The commandment to love one another as ourselves is at the core of our faith. Jesus himself emphasized that the greatest commandments are to love God with all our hearts and to love our neighbors as ourselves. And this means that our faith is not just about personal salvation and spiritual growth, but also about actively caring for and serving those around us. Have you heard the expression, "I want more for you, not more from you"? It's been used in the context of leadership and serving requests often, where the premise is that I will grow and develop and step into new things, which will make the experience less of a version of feeling used and more of an opportunity for me. But I've wrestled with it because while it's a great concept, I believe it becomes an aspiration rather than reality. If you spent a lot of time serving as a volunteer for a church or any organization, you know that it often feels like getting something from you, filling spots, covering roles, checking off boxes, and completing tasks. Yes, I've grown during these experiences, but often the challenges that come with it are ones that push me into feeling burned out and overwhelmed. And it's a rare occasion where I sense that I'm truly a priority. Thoughts like this maybe run through our heads. Do they care if everything is crumbling at work as long as I show up as a faithful volunteer? Does it matter if I give up sleep and my body is caving under unhealthy habits? If I can't figure out how to balance it all anymore, but I still fulfill my volunteer duties, will anything change if I say something? I've realized that as much as I feel as if someone is always asking for more from me in my volunteer roles, I'm not really that much different when I'm the one in the leadership position. I send emails and I forget to ask the person how they're doing at the beginning. Someone messaged me about a problem she had with the software she needed for her volunteer role and also mentioned that she had to take a child to the ER. I didn't see the message until it was too late to help, and my first response was something along the lines of saying I was glad that she found help with the software when I wasn't available. But my first response should have been to ask how her child was doing. Yes, I did ask, but it wasn't my first response, and that's what makes me think about this. Why isn't it my first response? I serve alongside another person who does her job on time every week without fail, and she experienced some health challenges, but I often forget to follow up and see how she's doing. We communicate regularly about our tasks, so it's that I lose focus of what really matters in our communication. Part of my repurposing process is to learn to really see people, to think of their needs, to know what's going on in their lives, to ask the right questions, to care less about what has to be done and more about whether they have balance. So how can we practically shift our focus from ourselves to others in our daily lives? It starts with a shift in mindset. Instead of constantly thinking about our own needs, desires, and aspirations, we should intentionally redirect our thoughts to the needs of others. It can be as simple as taking a genuine interest in someone's day, lending a helping hand to someone in need, or actively listening to someone who needs to be heard. Small acts of kindness and empathy can make a tremendous difference. So how do we do that? Well, here's a couple of things that I'm working on practicing in my own life, and maybe these 5 things will help you think of something that you can do as well. One is pause before communicating to run through what I know about someone outside of serving together. The second thing is being willing to set aside everything on my agenda to do what's best for someone's health. 3, put reminders in my calendar to check in again or to pray. 4, caring less about performance and more about people. And 5, do more than token caring. Show it in ways that go beyond what makes people suspicious and asking, "What do you want from me?" Now, you may wonder, what benefits can we experience when we focus more on others? We're focusing on others, but what's in it for me? Okay, kind of counterbalance there, but let's think about that. First, when we shift our focus to others, we begin to see the world through a different lens. Our hearts become more open and more compassionate, which leads to stronger connections and deeper relationships. As Christians, we believe that serving others is an act of worship and obedience to God. So when we selflessly serve others, we experience joy, fulfillment, and a greater sense of purpose in our own lives. I find that a nice exchange for when I start focusing on somebody else. But what about those who find it challenging to shift their focus away from themselves? Well, here are a few practical tips to help you on this journey. Start by practicing self-reflection and cultivating an attitude of gratitude. Thinking about what you're grateful for in the other person helps you to focus on them. Recognize the blessings in your life and let that fuel your desire to share those blessings with others. Seek opportunities to volunteer or engage in acts of service within your community or within your church. These experiences can be transformative and help you develop a more outward-focused mindset. And finally, surround yourself with like-minded individuals who share your values and inspire you to be more selfless. Their support and encouragement can make a world of difference. Remember, this is a journey. It's a process of growth and transformation. So we can start small, and we don't have to be discouraged by the challenges we face. Focusing more on others is a lifelong pursuit, but it's one that brings immeasurable rewards. As we conclude this part of the episode, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on how you can incorporate more selflessness into your life. Start today right where you are. And together, let's embrace the calling to love and serve others and making a positive impact in our world. I'd like to tell you about the brand new Bible study I just released. Renewed is book 1 in a 4-part series called Remade. Each book in the series centers around lessons titled with words that begin with RE and contains a main lesson and 5 micro studies for each week. Those are sort of like daily devotionals for you. These 6-week Bible studies are a combination of story and study with biblical exploration, humor, and insights from practical examples. They can be done in a group or on your own. There are also additional insights in the sidebar, and you'll find some places for solo work, for journaling, and prayer. If you're thinking of trying Renewed with your small group or on your own, you can download a free sample chapter at michellerayburn.com/remade. I've been creating resources for you with each episode. Sometimes it's a worksheet and sometimes a journaling prompt. And these all go out by email each week. You can sign up for that at michellerayburn.com if you'd like to get those emails. Those resources go out once, and if you miss them, they still are available. Those are to my Patreon subscribers. And there's a link in the show notes for you to get a free download or try out a free week of Patreon to see the library of resources that I've just started there. Now let's talk about what I'm reading. I promised you that in these solo episodes, I would tell you what I'm currently reading and give you a little bit of a snippet about that in case you're curious and you'd like to check it out as well. So in the last solo episode that I did, I mentioned that I was reading Fulfilled, Let Go of Shame, Embrace Your Body, and Eat the Food You Love by Alexandra McKillop. I finished reading that book, and I ended up finding a lot of nuggets that I want to read again, so I ended up ordering the print version. It isn't here yet, but it's coming. I like to listen to a lot of audiobooks when I'm doing other things, like I'm out for a walk or I'm working in the kitchen. And then sometimes I realize I want a version I can mark up. And even though this one had some things that were maybe a little bit misaligned with the direction I really want to go with looking at what God would want for my eating habits and my body. It had, I would say, like 95% of things that do align. And that's always a good sign in a book. Obviously, it's really hard to find a book that I would agree with 100% anyway. So Fulfilled is finished now. It is fulfilled. And if you're looking for a really great read from a Christian perspective on body and food, this is a really good one. So that will be linked in the show notes. I also listened to a fiction author that I hadn't read before, and I definitely am reaching out to the author about potentially being on this show. But for now, I encourage you to check out Christina Suzanne Nelson if you haven't looked at her Christian fiction before. This was a mystery with the right amount of heartfelt parts and not too cozy and definitely not too graphic. It just was it kept me engaged all the way through. So the book I read was What Happens Next, but I'll be getting a lot more of her books. I already downloaded another one and found one on sale at the Christian bookstore, so I have another one to read as well. Lastly, I'm trying out a new source for news. Have you ever wished you could get news that isn't biased in one way or another? I know it probably doesn't exist in the wild, but I'm trying out one called 1440 to see what I think of it. Yep, just the number 1440, 1440. The slogan for this news website is, "Today's news, edited to be unbiased as humanly possible. Every morning we triple check headlines, stories, and sources for bias, all by hand with no algorithms." So you might want to check out 1440. It's free, and I decided to try it out. No subscription that I have to pay for or anything like that. I like to try thinking without someone telling me what to think. And so I'm always looking for news sources that will give me just the story and let me think about it and process and chew on it a little bit. So I'll link to 1440 in the show notes if it's something you're curious about checking out too. That's all I have for you today in this short episode. I want to thank you for joining me on Life Repurposed. Be sure to sign up at michellerayburn.com to get the freebies that are here today and gone tomorrow. And I hope you found inspiration and practical insights to apply in your own life in this episode. Until next time, may your journey of selflessness and love continue to deepen your faith and enrich your relationships. You've been listening to Life Repurposed. If you'd like bonus resources sent to your inbox each week, be sure to sign up at michellerayburn.com.